In South Texas, barbacoa is traditionally made with cachete and lengua, but I've noticed a trend online where chuck roast is used for barbacoa, and it got me thinking, is chuck roast just as good as the traditional stuff? Let's get the Rectech Flagship 1100 fired up and find out. Vámonos! To get this test started, I set my Rectech to 225 degrees and got my chuck roast, cachete, and lengua all seasoned up and onto the grill for a good 2-hour smoke bath. After the first 2 hours of mesquite pellet smoke, I cranked the heat up just a bit to 325 degrees to speed up the cooking process just a little bit. 1 more hour and I wrapped them all up in foil with about 1/3 of a cup of some homemade beef broth in each pan. From here I let the Rectech Flagship do its thing for 3 more hours while I kicked back and worked up my appetite. I went ahead and rotated each pan at the halfway point for even cooking, and then I probed for tenderness. You're looking for about 205 to 210 internal temperature, but to me the best sign of doneness is when that meat is tender and soft like butter. Now it's time to rest the meat for 30 minutes and start pulling it all apart with our hands. Just look at that juicy squeeze. Both cuts fall apart tender, but the chuck gives itself away with the long and stringy fibers. Now both versions have excellent flavor, but the cachete is melt in your mouth tender with its own unique flavor. But we don't just eat barbacoa like this, so let's make some tacos and compare. Onion, cilantro, salsa, and then a squeeze of lime. Now that chuck is still good, but not quite as soft and supple. But wait, there's more. Let's dress these tacos up like the burrito chains do. This time we're adding cheese and crema. Now that's a big old bite of flavor, but the meat's getting a little bit lost in there. It's still a great bite though, don't get me wrong. So is chuck meat as good as the traditional cuts for barbacoa? Well, when they're all smoked up just right on a Rectech, that smoky fatty flavor is sure to be delicious either way. But for me, the cachete steals the show and remains the king of cuts for that true barbacoa flavor. And look, for sure, part of that is all tied up in memory too. Smoked cachete just like this reminds me of the true smoky barbacoa flavor that originally came from the hole in the ground overnight pozo method used by my father on the ranch that I grew up on. But you know what? I reckon that if there were Rectechs at the ranch back then, they'd also smoke some barbacoa just like this too. Y'all check them out and get you some. Boom!